Hi, this is Michael. Welcome to week two. So, just to let you know, I like to do these videos after each to introduce the next section in a short way, and also to just comment on anything that I thought was interesting or just any pointers that might help the class move forward. So, week one is pretty straightforward, and I think everybody did a nice job. I hope the videos, while they were a bit long, I think they are there in a way to help you understand, I hope, the importance and interesting profundity of the kind of challenge we're taking on. And just because it is challenging, uh, but I hope it's interesting. So that's the point, is that both McManus and Weinberger have these different points of view, and bonus points if you figured out that the McManus point of view, he is kidding. I mean, most of that is a joke. It's maybe kind of a odd joke, but he's sort of the design will solve everything person, whereas Weinberger might be a little bit more practical. Anyway, that kind of goes with my nature as well. I like to think there's a little playfulness in this topic and a lot of room for creativity, which I appreciate about McManus. So, that being said, week one, just get your bearings. Hopefully everything makes sense. You're getting used to mural. One thing you'll also, or I also find is interesting, that you're doing a bit of information architecture right here as you participate. In this case, we started with a bunch of paragraphs, and everyone sort of followed suit. And you're going to see every week that there's going to be variations on this, but sometimes the person that gets there first sets a standard for a pattern. Much as over here, if you noticed, I started with this and I recommended doing it this way. It doesn't mean it has to be done that way. And the experimentation with mural in different ways of presenting your ideas is definitely a part of this class. But it is going to be up to you, and you can experiment. This week, we're going to talk about content. So, going into the readings and media, there's some things to understand here, but what we're trying to do is basically get some content to work with that you find interesting, and that word interesting can be interpreted many ways. I would say that the word interesting means that you feel confident enough that you understand it, so that you can change it or add to it or manipulate it. If it's a topic that's very numeric, such as anything that's just a bunch of numbers, avoid that. It says it many times here, but that's going to be a different kind of. We'll get to it toward the end of class, but we're looking for something fairly descriptive, qualitative. And with that in mind, let me just show you a couple of ideas, because this week we're going to learn how to get the data, and the next week we're really going to focus on trying to make that data understandable and make it work. So if we go into the places to share, this is a great time. This particular activity could take a half hour, it could take 3 hours. It's really a little bit hard to tell. So this is why I prefer everybody to share early and often. So in this case, I'm actually have my own example here, which is I'm interested in perfumes. And when I was completely fascinated with this topic, I was interested in perfume ingredients. I found a site that had perfume ingredients, but I found it really hard to understand and to find what I was looking for. So I have been basically getting the data and putting it into a table. So there's a couple of videos here. Import IO is off limits, I think, now. So we have a couple of other options if you want to scrape. So scraping data, I can do this really quick, but it's something you should play around with. This is Simple Scraper. So if you turn on Simple Scraper, you'll start to see that every website pretty much is a bunch of data. And so in this case, if you clicked on something like this, you'll see this is called poster column image. That's the name of it. I would call it something a little friendlier, such as image. If you clicked on any of these, you'll just start to see that you can pull out of any website the data on it. What you will have difficulty doing is getting all of the data. For example, Shawshank Redemption has a director and a release date and a rating, and there's a bunch of other data that isn't shown in this view. So it can be a little bit more work to get all the rest of that data. Sometimes the data is very heavy on ratings. Ratings is not something we'll do until week 8 because it's metadata. It's data about data. So we just want the data itself. So in this case, even though this is the top 250 movies, for our purposes, it's just movies. And that will become clearer next week, but just don't get hung up on there being some quality to this data. Just look for basically something that models something you're interested in. So a movie has a title. We're really interested in these names here, things like that. I also have some other things here, but let me show you Airtable as well. So Airtable has, let's just sign in really quick. Airtable is where you're going to keep your data, and you're also going to find, I believe that this is one of the more tremendously exciting products out there. I think it's incredibly well designed, and it really helps you understand databases. So in this case, you can go up to the templates, and you can find templates for all sorts of different purposes. So in this case, please browse, take a look, and if you find something you like, say books are pretty good. We like books. Everyone likes a book. So if you look at it, it'll say, okay, a book has a name, an author, a cover photo, a synopsis, and then notes and ratings. So these are less useful. Again, this is metadata. If you start here, that might be a little light for books, but hey, you got to start somewhere. So bringing data in and getting it to be useful again is next week, but we want to start with a topic and something that you're interested in doing. So there's 2 options. You can get it from here, from Airtable, or you can scrape it from a site, both of which are pretty fun, and hopefully, again, something that just it helps you explore, like, did you know that the internet is basically data that you could scrape? You don't have to look at it. You can just take it away. And that's why one of the activities this week, many of you are not familiar with Twitter, but Twitter right here here's the data model for Twitter, which does seem like a lot to go through, but it's interesting because most people think of a tweet as just being a piece of text. Used to be the piece of text was 128 characters, I think. Now it's a little bit bigger. You can add things, but in any case, it used to be a fairly simple idea that it was a piece of text. But actually, it's more than a piece of text. There's a lot of stuff here that helps that piece of text have more use, because the piece of text is not that great until, hint, hint, they invented hashtags, but that's going to be something we're going to do in a bit. So we're trying to do an exercise that doesn't rely on hashtags and using the data in the tweet, such as the person who made it, the place it was made, words within it, forget the hashtags, but see, you can actually do a lot of powerful stuff with Twitter because it's such a vast database. There's almost nothing that you could search for or ask for that there isn't something in Twitter, and it's all publicly available. So all I'm asking to here is for you to get some understanding of what the other parts of the data mean, such as date created, or any sort of reference to more qualitative parts of what is this topic about. So like, I guess, for example, if you had clothes, you could say something like the weight of the clothes. Just making that up, but all those bits of data can be very useful later, and that's what we're trying to find, something that's useful later. Here's another example, which is iTunes. And you can see here every song, I guess, has all of these particular data points connected to it. And there's also a relationship. So, for example, a song can be in an album. And that might be the trickiest part of this week, when things are related to each other, such as a parent-child relationship, we call it. So there's an album that has a song in it. There's also a song that could exist on its own as a single or something. But the relationship can get a little bit tricky. Let's share. And if you need any help with these things, I'm more than happy to give some tips or some examples of how to make this useful. As we move forward through the class, we're going to be using this database for just about everything, up until the very end. So this is what we're going to explore. So here we go. Explain your topic. And if you have any questions, assignment 1 is the result of this, which is going to be due next Monday or Monday after next, right? So this is week 2, and then at the end of week 3 is this assignment. So wanted to give you that insight and let you know what's up, and look forward to your explorations. Thanks.